Thank you for having me. I'm always, honestly, this is not the first time that I get in front of you guys, or I mean the school students, but I'm thankful and I'm blessed to get the chance to be able to share with you guys about, what God is doing across the border. And the reason why I'm so blessed and I'm thankful is because I see the future of the church, the future of ministry, and I'm blessed to be able to be part of this. But I want to share with you guys something before I get to that part. I will share a little bit about where I come from. I don't want to tell the whole story because part of it I'm going to share on Sunday at church. I want to talk about, this ministry, how it's involved in my life, and how I grew up between, the Hawaiians and Mexico and how they influenced my life. So I want to share a little bit about that in church, but I don't want to, Mexico happens all the time. Kids hear that story, go like, oh, I don't want to hear that again, but I don't want that to happen with any of you guys, But I want to ask you guys a question, and that's something that I want you guys to think about yourself. Do not have to respond to me. Just think about this question, and then you guys can meditate yourself, and then maybe talk about it with you guys, stuff like that. But I'm gonna have a couple of questions for you guys, okay? So one of the first questions that I have for you guys is like, what is it that has a strong value in your heart? Like, what is it the most important thing in your life? Now, you don't have to be all religious with me. You don't have to be all like, oh, I want to respond the right answers, because that happens a lot with kids in Mexico. They want to give the right answer. I want you to be honest with yourself. Be honest with God and think about this really clearly. What is it, or what is the most important thing that is in your heart right now at this time of your life? What is that most important thing? And then the second question that I want you to think about is, what has influenced or what has led you towards that decision, So I come from a country, I come from Mexico, and in Mexico, we are influenced a lot by the culture. We're influenced every day. Since you're a little kid, the culture influences a lot in the culture in Mexico. Since you're a little kid, you're born and you were meant to be this macho kid. You're meant to be so tough. So from little kid, your goal, what becomes most important thing in your life is to become that. I got to become this macho person. I got to become this important person. And that's just as you grow, things get more involved. Sometimes sometimes in Tijuana, across the border in Mexico, we tend to imitate, like, we love soccer. Soccer is a big deal in our country. So we probably, some of us will turn to someone like soccer player that is really popular, and we want to be that guy. And our goal is to become just like that person. For the ladies, it's the most beautiful girl that is going on, especially on social media nowadays. But it becomes that, like, I want to be like her. I want to look like her. And especially even the culture, too. The culture is more influenced in the physical stuff. So a lot of the kids, a lot of the girls down there, that we grow up thinking that the most important thing it is, like, the secular, the outside stuff. Where I come from, money is one of those things, too. It's a huge thing in our life. We grew up in the poor communities. We grew up in the rough neighborhoods of Tijuana. And then the first thing that we want to do is get out of that environment. And we think about money too. I want a bigger house. I want a nice apartment. I want to drive the nicest car ever. And I want it to be with the loudest speaker ever. And I want to drive into, like, the block where I was from, burning tired. And I want people to look at me and see me. And, it becomes the most important thing in our hearts. We've worked so hard towards that in our life. We really work and we invest so much. And then some other people tend to, imitate, some, rappers or some singer guy that, they like his music. They want to dress like that. I remember growing up as a kid, rap, it was a thing, and everybody wanted to be like that. Everybody wanted to dress like this guy, want to look like that guy. They want to put that little tie thing on their head, and they want to just feel like that. They're singing their songs, even though sometimes we don't even understand what we're singing. But it becomes important, and since in some ways it influences in our heart, it gets inside of us, and we think like that is the most important thing, and that gives me value, and that makes me feel like I'm worth it, like I got a purpose, and then it becomes our goal. And then across the border, we work so hard to make sure that that is important for us, that has become a goal, a treasure in our heart. We work so hard to gain it, whatever the cost. Some people, even across the border, they admire criminals. A lot of the places that Vaughn visited and the Hawaiians have visited are really dark places. And they all want to be the biggest gangster around. They all want to look really tough. They want to walk around with their guns. And it becomes their goal since little kid. I know I wanted to be one of those kids. I grew up and I was like, I want to be one of the biggest criminals in this world. And I want that to be my goal. So the first thing that I did is just I want to get involved with gangs because that's where I belong. I don't have a family. I was born like I was over the streets, so I wanted to belong. I wanted to be part of a family. I wanted to be somebody important. So the only options that I have in my block, it was to become one of those gang leaders. And that was my goal. That was some of us kids' goal, to become somebody. And it came into our heart, like literally, I don't know how it really goes spiritually inside of us, but it becomes so important that it becomes our daily bread. That's what we think about. That's what we're into every day, and we work so hard. We give our life towards that is in our heart, that has become so important. So I'm going to repeat again. Think about what is it that is the most important thing in your heart right now, and be honest. And what has influenced you towards that answer? What is it that it gets you to make that decision, to lean towards that? I just mentioned to you guys that in Mexico, the culture has a huge influence. Not just the culture, but also our surroundings. If I was born in a block that is all troublemakers, it's all gangs, it's all violence, it's all death, and it's all screaming and pain, then that's what influences me. That's what I grew up watching and thinking that is the most important thing. So what is it? Be honest with yourself. What is it that really it's in your heart that takes the most time of your life, that it becomes more important to you? And what has influenced that? What is it that you're doing, or who you're spending so much time, or what is it that you're giving into, like putting inside of you, that it makes you towards that answer? What influences you? Across the border, if the kids are born in a family normally, some kids get to be born in a normal family, their goal becomes to be the best student in school. They hear from their mom, they hear from their dad, you got to do better. And they take tests and they do evaluations. They participate in so many different activities at school. But the idea is to become the best student in the whole school. They go into competitions. They go into all these different schools and they compete, and they walk back to their school and go like, yeah, I beat that guy, and I beat that girl, and she thought she had me, but no, I'm smarter than she is. Even sports too, in normal families place, even in the communities too, it's a big deal. A lot of kids want to become the best soccer player and invest so much time on that. And if you're born in a family that you have a mom or a dad, they're gonna try to influence. They're gonna try to tell you, you gotta do better. You gotta do best on this. And not just tell you when you're playing a soccer match to do the best, to be the better one, but also when you have to train before the match, the hard work becomes. And then some of these kids grow up making that their own goal, making that the most important thing in their life. It becomes like a treasure, like something golden, something that has so much value that I gotta get it. I gotta make it mine. It's gotta be mine. And that's how some of the kids that grow up in the family, that's how they start doing. Because I went to school with some of them. They always are trying to go to the nicest college even. They're thinking about it. You sit down with them and they talk about it. No, I want to go to school. Why? Because my dad talked to me. Because my mom told me. Because I saw a relative told me that this is the best school to go to. And the only way I'm going to get to that school is if I do all these classes, if I do all this curriculum, all these activities, so I can gain some credits to be able to get into that school. So it becomes that the most important thing. That's what it becomes. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. The problem is with all this that it becomes, and then we think like, if I don't have this, then there's no more value. Like, it's just worthless. Like, who am I? I mean, I've seen kids even across the border just cry and give their own life to death to just gain that. That the culture is telling them that this is the only way you're going to be somebody. This is the most important thing. This is the most valuable treasure in the world. And you can get it. You can access to it. Just give into it. Just work harder to get it. Make it your own focus. Make it your own goal. And some people, that's what they do the rest of their life. They do that. They make it their goal. I want to share a story with you guys. And before I get to that part, I want to. Can one of you guys do me a favor and read Matthew 6, chapter 21? I don't want you guys to fall asleep. I want you guys to get involved. Just one of you guys. If you guys can reach it out, just let me know, okay? You guys got it? Yeah? You have it? Would you read it, please? Yeah, it's Matthew 6:21, verse 21. So listen to this, guys. The Bible teaches us that wherever my heart is, if I place my heart in the physical things, that's where I'm going to think that the physical things are the most important thing. If I place my heart in the materialistic world, I'm going to think that if I don't have a car, that if I don't have all these physical things, that I'm not going to be worth, like I'm not going to be nothing. So I become, the physical stuff becomes my goal, becomes my treasure. So that's what I asked you at the beginning. What is the most important thing in your heart at this time of your life? And what has influenced that towards that decision? And I'm going to repeat that story all over again, that question all over again during this talk with you guys. I'm going to share you guys a story. And that happened in Mexico when I was a kid. So I grew up in Tijuana. I grew up with this missionary named Vaughn. And then one of the things that I will do after school when I was probably 12 years old is I will go hang out in orphanages. After school, I would just go and hang out and help out. That means I will help out cleaning. I will help out do homework. I will help out get the kids in bed. I will do it, whatever it takes. I will just go invest time to this place. I will do that during the week after school. And then on the weekends, and if I didn't have any school, that's where I will go too. But on the weekends, I will go and spend the night there, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then every day that I would spend there in the mornings, I will wake up early in the morning. And then this guy, we're going to say his name, but this guy who was actually called to lead this ministry, called to leave and serve these 50 kids that he had in this orphanage. They were all kids from 8 years old to 12 years old. They're all little guys. But he was called to serve these kids. But he will get up in the mornings, and I remember that clearly. He will get up out of his bed, and then when he found out Julian was there, he was like, Juliancito, come on, little Julian, let's go. And then we will walk to the bakery a few blocks away from the orphanage. It was a local bakery. Early in the morning, because then you get the fresh bread. And the bakery will normally give the bread for free to the orphanage. So we'll get up in the morning, we go get the bread, and then we'll come back, and then his wife will have a cup of coffee ready at the kitchen. So the guy will come, and it has a little porch. It was a little porch like that, and then the kids will play in front of it. So he will come in from the bakery, and then he will just sit down, and then I will go into the kitchen, and then I will put the basket of bread right there, and then his wife will come out and bring that cup of coffee, and then give it to him, and then he will he will get a piece of bread too, and then he will ask me, Juliancito, little Julian, sit next to me, and I will sit next to him. And for so many years, I heard the same story. This guy will always think about this. Ay, como quisiera. If only God could give me a ministry. And he was daydreaming all the time. He was like, oh, if only God can just give me a ministry. If only God can do that, and he will do that every day, all year. Remember this, he is the director of an orphanage. He was called to serve those 50 kids. And then every day he will do the same thing too. Go to the bakery, grab bread, get to the orphanages, sit down on the porch, call Julian, Juliancito, come, and sit next to him, and then tell Julian, I wish the Lord will give me my ministry. Ay, Julian, I wish the Lord would just give me my ministry. I wish God would just watch me and see me and give me my ministry. And I didn't understand anything, to be honest. I was still 12 years old, 13, 15 years old. I have no idea what he was talking about. After 10 years, that orphanage got shut down. All the kids went back to their own life, and then he went south of Mexico back to his own life. So it took me a while to find out where he was living at. Then I took a plane from Tijuana, and then I flew all the way down to a different state in my country, and I wanted to see him, and I wanted to meet him, and I wanted to know how he was doing. He's a little bit older now. Then he goes in there, they pick me up at the airport, takes me back to his home, and then we're sitting outside the car. His wife brings him a cup of coffee. Normally guys will lean in, if you have a truck, lean on the back of the truck like this. So he's leaning on the back of the truck. His wife comes in and then says, ay, Juliancito, if only God can just give me a ministry. I've been praying so hard that God will give me my own ministry. My own ministry. He will say it like that. And it took me years to understand it. But when I was there with him that day, when I flew to his state to go see him, I was thinking about it. Man, you have it right here. You have it. It's right here. And then I also thought about those kids, and he had it. God called him to serve those 50 kids, and he missed it for 10 years because his heart was in a different place. His heart was on the secular and the material things. So for his mind, I'm going to be here, sorry. So for his mind, having my own ministry, God giving me my own ministry, it meant I want a car, I want a white van like the ones we have outside, I want a building, I want the support, I want to travel, I want God to take me to these churches, to this country, to all these places. I want to feel like God is doing something. I want to feel like God is using me. Like I want to feel. So he missed it for 10 years. He had 50 kids from 8 years old to 12 years old. You know what those kids did too? Because that's what they were watching too. They went back to the same lifestyle too. Just the example that they were given at that house too. He went back to his life. Those kids went back to their life again. So he missed it. He missed it completely. Thinking, I want my own ministry. You see, his heart was somewhere else. And what had more value, it was the stuff. It was the thing. It was the materials of things. That's why I ask you, what is it that is more important in your heart? And what has influenced you towards that decision? What is it that's really, it's in your heart? Rick was talking with you guys right now about Vaughn. So I met this guy. Before I was like, I don't know, my mom said I was on her belly. But I met this guy, German guy, an older guy. It is the most cool guy I've ever seen in my life I ever met. But Vaughn he was a youth pastor up in San Diego in the area of Claremont. And he would just drive to Tijuana, right across the border. And he wanted to go hang out with the roughest kids of the communities. He will go. So my neighborhood was called Laguna. It was mean lagoon because when it rained, it was like a canyon, and all the water will stay in the middle right there. That's why it's called Laguna. So I don't know how or what made him go towards this neighborhood. But this is how I grew up in this neighborhood. There was only two things for me. It was prison or death. There was nothing else in life. My mom taught me since I was a little kid, Julian, you were meant to be only two things in life. It's either you end up dead in the one corner or you end up in prison, and there's nothing else for you in this life. There was nothing else for you in this life. Only those two things there are. Without even knowing that God was working on someone else's heart across the border. Without even knowing that this missionary, this guide, made God's heart beat for the most important thing he's on. That was people. So Vaughn knew what God wanted, what God loved the most. So Vaughn spending time with God and the Word of God, he's starting to understand what it was the most important thing. So Vaughn will grab and drive across the border. And he will go into our communities. So remember I said there was only two options for me. It was prison or death. And then this German guy from San Diego, old guy, will come into our neighborhood. And we expected him because we knew who he was. But he will come in with a chest. I try to do a chest. I like drawing, but it's so hard. It's so expensive, everything here in Kauai. But it's just roll with me, okay? Just imagine this is a treasure chest. So Vaughn will come into our neighborhood with a treasure chest. And we knew as kids that treasure, there was something gold, something important inside of it. We always wanted to know what was in it. The moment Vaughn will come in, we're like, oh, here comes the treasure chest again. What's in it? I remember the first time he pulled it out, we have no idea. We're like so excited. We're like, oh, we just can't wait for Vaughn to open it up. And we're like trying to wait, see if Vaughn turns around so we can sneak and open and see what's in it. But then Vaughn will bring this treasure chest into a community. And he will show it to us as little kids that we had never heard about anything else besides pain and suffering. And we thought the only future we had was dead in prison. This missionary comes out of nowhere with this treasure chest. And he will put it right there so everybody can see it. And then Vaughn will start telling us stories we never heard before. And then Vaughn will tell us so many cool things that we never heard. I grew up knowing two things, prison and death, and then Vaughn comes out of nowhere and says, hey, there's something else for you. There's more than just death and prison for you guys. There's a God that cares for every single one of you guys and wants to use you guys and wants to do something amazing thing through you. So we never heard that. So when Navalmo and Vaughn spoke about those things, he had all these brown kids focus on him. Literally all of us were just staring at him, looking at him, wanting more stories and wanting to hear more about what he was talking about. At the end of the day, Vaughn will open out the treasure chest. And there was only one thing inside of it. And it said, you. That was it. It was you. You were in it here. So it was hard for us as little kids in the neighborhood to grow up thinking that that's how valuable we are to God's eyes. It was so hard for us to really believe it. We never grew up knowing anything else but pain and suffering. Vaughn will come in, that's what he will do. He will tell us stories, and he will tell us stories from the book, and he will read it. He will actually, this was the treasure he will come in with. This is the treasure that he will come in with. And he will speak to us about who God is and what God desires for our life. That we were not meant to just suffer and die in prison or end up in prison or death. That there was something else for our life. And we never heard anyone speak to us like that before. We never did. I grew up in a little valley, like I told you before. The mountains were around it, and we were so blind by life that we really thought, we used to believe that there was nothing else outside of those hills. This German guy will drive this Volkswagen, white Volkswagen, He will go into our communities Thursdays, by 11 o'clock in the morning, always punctual. We knew that he didn't show up until 11 o'clock, but that didn't really matter to us. We spent the night before gathering in someone else's spot and talking about what Vaughn talked to us the month before. And then we'll get up early in the morning by 6 o'clock in the morning, and we will walk to the entrance of the community. And then we knew that Vaughn didn't show up until 11 o'clock, but that didn't really matter. We went to the back of the community, and we waited right there. We were just waiting, talking with a bunch of kids, making a circle. We're like, when is one going to come? Oh. And then as soon as we see a little small car, like sometimes you see like the road is right here, and then the little small roof of the car is showing up. And we see a white roof, and we're like, oh, yeah, you go, Vaughn. Vaughn is coming. Let's go. And I was like, that's not Vaughn. Then we go back in a circle and we talk about the stories. We talk about what Vaughn will do and all the games that he will do and all the stories that he will talk from this book. We spent time talking about it the night before. And another white car comes in from the bottom. We knew he was coming from the top. He comes in another car. We're like, oh, this is it. Here comes Vaughn. Here comes Vaughn. We're like, oh, that's not the one. And we did that from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock in the morning. And finally, she uses his Volkswagen. Just driving. Man, our eyes would just, believe me, they would be open. Our hearts would just bounce, just beat. The excitement. We wanted to know what this guy had for us that day. We waited for him at the entrance of the community. He will drive down the hill and literally just make the curve. And then we will run behind him. Vaughn, hermano Vaughn. He didn't stop though. He was just still driving slowly. But he had all these 30 kids behind him running in the car. Hermano Vaughn. We're running, and he will drive to a spot. He will open up the side door of his Volkswagen. He will come out. He will open up the side door. Because there was a little spot right there. And he will sit right there, and he will have all these kids. And he will tell us about that treasure. He will talk to us about that treasure. And we were into it. We never heard something like that before. You see, Vaughn's heart beat for the same things that God cared for. And that was God's people's life. Our souls. It's worth, for him to drive all the way across the border. I work in a ministry called Spectrum Ministries, which is the one that Vaughn started. And that's when Rick used to go down there across the border and serve. We do one thing. On Thursdays, we do the same thing that Vaughn did. We don't do the whole program like he used to do before. It has changed through times. But we still gather on Thursday. And we do this thing where we go out to the communities, we find a basketball, a football court, and we bring food for the people. We bring the gospel to the people. We try to give them a moment that is different. A moment that will break the whole month of just pain and suffering. Just one moment. But something happened that month. We were not expecting it. We never thought about any of this. We didn't plan any of that. But normally I try to find a t-shirt bag. But normally what we do is we meet at the base, we pray, and everybody goes and buys stuff, and then we gather the community. That's what we do. But for whatever reason, that day changed everything. That day completely changed everything. So we decided that we're going to pre-pack everything at the dorm, at the base, and that we're going to go door by door that day. Now, this is on the other side of the hill. And there's something happening on the other side of the hill. And the other side of the hill, there's this community. It's called granjas, farms. It's all invaded. People just have no place to live, and they invaded this spot that is unsafe. Pretty much when it rains, all those houses get dragged away from the rain. But it's just called invasion. It's invaded. People just built up a shack and move into there. But this is what's happening on their side. There was this single mom with 4 kids, and she was struggling to provide for her kids. She was having a hard time to provide, and she's struggling. So every time we would show up, we didn't know that she was working, and pretty much she was trying to make ends living, and she was trying to bring some money home so she can provide for her kids. But it became to the point that it was so much pressure for her that she didn't, she was not providing enough, and she was not providing for her kids. So that day, for whatever reason, everything blew up. And the only option that she had, it was to hang herself. So she thought that the only solution for that, it was to hang herself and end up her life and the life of her kids. She was desperate. She was desperate for hope. She wanted to hear and know that there was something else in life than just that, what she was feeling. That pain that it was killing her, that it was making her feel like I'm like, I can't do anything. I have 4 kids to feed, and how am I going to do all that? And the only solution she had, it was like, I'm going to just kill myself. For whatever reason, at the other side of the hill, God decided to change our program. And we decided to go to the houses, knock house by house, and just say hi to the people and ask them, Señora, ¿cómo está? How are you doing? How's it going? And shake hands with people and ask them how they were doing and see them say eyes, and talk with them. And we didn't even know that door that we were about to knock in, it was hurt on a bucket. We didn't know about any of that. That we didn't know that she was actually ready to do that. And sometimes she didn't know that God was preparing something different across the hill. So that day, God came into her house. That day, hope came into her house. That day, that treasure box came into her house that day. She fell on her knees and she said, thank you. You have no idea how desperate I am, how worthless I feel. I was feeling all this pain. I was struggling all this life. And I didn't know that God was actually getting something ready for me that day. It was only a bag of food. There was potatoes, onions, and all this stuff like that inside. That's all that was in there. There's a story. You guys can dig into it. I know time is short. There's a story on the book of Mark, chapter 6. And I'm just going to go on the part, let's see, it's Mark 6, chapter 32. You guys can read about it, spend more time in it. It's a story that is well known. So on the book of Mark, chapter 6, verse 32, I'm going to start. Okay? So they went away themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from the towns and got there ahead of them. So they saw Jesus in a boat, and I can picture this because I live in a country where when somebody says there's food, everybody runs towards that place. When something is happening new in the community, everybody calls and says, llegó, ya llegó, and everybody starts, who? But I don't know who it is, but we run. And then I can see that because I'm familiar to it. When people say, let's go, let's go. You got people running in sandals. You got people who are like, I didn't fix my hair. And they're running towards it. They want to go and see what's going on in the community. They want to know what's new. It's coming to our block. And everybody runs. All it takes is one person to say, I see this, so I can relate to this. When they see Jesus on a boat and go like, that's Jesus. And they start spreading the word, calling everybody, Jesus is coming. Jesus is in a boat. I see him. And everybody run. And the loud crowd just running towards ahead of him. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things. I asked you at the beginning, what's in your heart? What is the most important thing? And what has influenced that too? You get to have this in front of you, and I don't think it was meant for you to keep it. And I don't think it was meant for you just to have a great time in Kauai and then go back home to your normal life. You are blessed to have the time to read and spend so much time in here and fellowship with other people and have so many different speakers come and pour into every single one of you guys. Meanwhile, there's a world out there who's desperate, even in this island too. Even some of the kids that gather on this youth, seeking, wanting to know what's in that treasure box. And you and I, we sit on this all the time. I go across the border and death is all the time happening all the time. People are desperate. Just the way that I was as a little kid, and then God touched this missionary across the border. And this guy decided to make God's heart beat for the people, his own heart. And that was meant to go across the border and love onto all these little brown kids. And hang out with all these kids, filthy, full of lies and fleas in our clothes. But that didn't really stop this guy. He would just drive across the border and bring stuff that was donated from the Americans and just hang out with us and open up that treasure box and tell us what really God had for our life. You have it right there. I told you 2 stories. The guy who missed it because his heart was not in it. He had 50 kids with him, 50 kids in front of him, from 8 years old to 12 years old. And he spent all those 10 years asking God, just give me a ministry. And he had it right in front of him. 50 kids right in front of him. You have it right in front of you too. It's all in here. That's why I'm asking you, what is it that is the most important thing in your heart, and what has that influenced it? What has that influenced it? You are living, hanging out for a year in this paradise, in this cool place, and sometimes we take that for granted. It only becomes 1 year in Kauai, it is the coolest thing ever, post those pictures on social media, and then you go back home to your normal life. Or it just becomes a post all about it. Even across the board, it happens all the time. People go down there, Vaughn used to call it summer love. The problem is they talk about so cool things, so many nice things, and as little kids, we hear something beautiful, we fall in love with it, we're like, oh, she said, or he says he's going to come back, and that doesn't happen again. You have it right here. Would one of you guys do me a favor and go to the Bible and read, please, loud on Matthew 9, chapters 35 to 38, twice, please. Loud. Am I good? Am I good? Am I good? Am I good? What time? Yeah. Okay. You had it? Read it, please.
Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every disease and affliction. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest.
You read it again, please. Thank you.
And Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of
So I have one last question, and that's for you guys to think about it, talk about it later by yourself with God. What is compassion to you? What does it mean? When Jesus looked at the crowd, and he saw them as lost sheep, and he felt compassion for them. This is my version of it. Me, that I come across the border, I feel and I know that the way God showed me compassion through this missionary, it was, I see your pain. I see what you're going through. I feel it. Let's go together through this process until you get healed. I carry the pain that you have. Let's share the load. That's what compassion it was for me. From this guy that decided to follow God's call, answer to his call, go across the border, and pour into all his kids across the border. This ministry, this church, this school, does the same thing too. I've been around the Hawaiians for since I was 10 years old. I'm 36. It's been over 20 years. They have poured, they have gone down there and love on the people. So my question again is, what is compassion for you? What does it mean? Did Jesus just look at the crowd and go like, oh, I feel sorry for you, bro, but I got things to do. I got to go. Did he saw him and just move along? He saw the need and go like, oh, I feel sorry for them. I just got to keep going. I got other things to do. And I'm going to close with this, and I'm going to share this story that it haunts us a lot of it, even till today. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but it has changed the way that I do things with people nowadays. Sometimes we do programs, and then sometimes we get overwhelmed by the situation. No? We get so excited, the emotion, the adrenaline, the games, the music, and everything going around. So there was a little girl in that corner, at the corner of the program that we had that day, that was going on that day. And everybody knew and saw and was able to see that girl was sitting in that corner. We went on with our program. We continue with everything. We get so excited. We got American groups coming down. Everything's having a blast. Everybody's being blessed. Everything's so cool. Everything's working out the way we talked about it. We planned it on it. And that girl is still sitting in that rock right there. Everybody decided we finish our program. We take the tents down. We put everything back to the trucks, everything back to the vehicles. We put all the group to the van. We asked the group one last time, you guys good? Do you guys need anything else? We're fine. Let's go. Everybody gets in their vehicles, and then everybody starts driving slowly for whatever reason. That girl is still sitting in that rock in that corner. She sat there, and she waited there for 3 hours. Everybody saw her. Everybody saw that kid right there. And we still didn't decide to go and ask or get close to that kid and ask her, how's she doing? Are you okay? So we drove by. And slowly, for whatever reason, the vans normally go slowly in the corner, in the curb. And then you can see that kid still from far away sitting in that corner. That was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, newspapers coming. That kid made it home, empty-handed. And she was beat up to death by her own parents. We missed it. We had it in front of us. And we missed it. Just because everything was going cool. Because everything was so cool. And sometimes I wondered if we would have decided to continue doing what we always do. How we have missed that too. I don't know if maybe that kid was sent by her parents to get some food for that day. I do not know. Nobody knows if her family was struggling to get food that day. And they sent her to maybe she saw the problem at home. And she thought, I'm going to go because the group is here. The Americans are here. I'm going to go with that group right there. And maybe I'll get something. I don't know if that's what that little kid was thinking about. I do not know. We only assume that maybe something like that happened. There was a need, there was chaos, there was pain, there was suffering at home. And maybe she thought I'm going to go with this guy, so I'm going to go with this group. And maybe I can get something from that and take it home, and that will help my family, my environment. And we missed it. We missed hanging out. We missed spending time with that kid. We missed it showing to that girl. We missed coming to that kid and asking her and show it to her. We missed it. I missed it. And she was beat up to death.
Their own parents?
Yes, sir.
Dang, that's evil.
Missed it. And sometimes you and I, we take this for granted. We take it something cool, something awesome. I don't believe that this is only meant for you to get shine in your life and to keep it to yourself. Even the Bible speaks about it. You don't turn up a light and then hide it. No, you put it on top of the pig so that dark world can see a light for hope. It was not meant for you just to have another year of awesomeness in this island, beautiful place I've ever been in my life. It was not meant for. There's a purpose and a reason for all of this. There's a reason why you got here. Whether you were running away for whatever, maybe you were confused or you have no idea what to do, God used that to get you here. And there's a reason and a purpose for all of it. But one thing I know, that it was not meant for you to keep it. It wasn't meant for you to keep it. And I don't want to miss it again. I get to be in front of every single one of you guys. This is my second, another year that I come to this island. I don't want to miss it either with the kids that I'm called right here to serve the 2 weeks that I come in Hawaii. I know they're pain. I know they're frustrated sometimes. I know they're crazy. But you are called right now. You are here. So don't miss it. I know there's needs in this island too. And some of you guys have come from different parts of America. And some of you are going to go back to that. There's needs where you come from too. There's needs where you guys come from. I'm going to ask again, and I'm going to close with that. What is the most important thing in your heart, and what has influenced that decision? My name is Julian. I live in Tijuana. I was raised by Vaughn, Rick's mentor. I was a kid that I would grow up in the streets. I was 4 years old. My mom threw me into the world. She didn't want me. This missionary will come into my community and said, God spoke to me, and you're coming with me to live. My mom didn't know that God was planning something greater for my life. My mom didn't know that the cross was going to save my life. The world intended evil for my life, and then God had a different plan for it. Now I don't want to miss it, not even with every single one of you guys. Thank you for listening. I appreciate everything you guys do, so thank you. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be sharing more about where I come from with the church on Sunday. They asked me to do that on Sunday, but I don't know if you guys have any questions. You guys good? Okay, thank you guys. You guys good?